Present, good afternoon. This question is a screening question that I'm going to be working the example here for the purpose of increasing your understanding as to how to do the calculations related to screening. And the question reads, the World Health Organization did a mass screening in Nashville community for scrotal cancer in 2020. The results showed that the prevalence of scrotal cancer was 45% among 18,000 who were tested. Other information shared was that true positive, the value was 3,645. Sensitivity and specificity of the test were 90 and 80% respectively. You are asked to construct a contingency table to prepare the data and then to calculate the negative predictive value for the screening, explain the results of the negative value of the screening test, and then you are to identify 3 criteria for implementing a screening program. We will do questions 1 to 3 for this session. There are several formulas that are used in calculating and providing information related to screening. The first one is prevalence, which is equal to TP, which is true positive, plus FN, which is false negative. We further are able to calculate the sensitivity, which is the ability of the test to identify those who are having the disease. And that's true positive divided by the total of true positive plus false negative multiplied by 100. So that answer is represented as a percentage, as you have seen in your question above. The sensitivity was 90%. Specificity, that's true negative divided by true negative plus false positive multiplied by 100. The question you have here indicated that the specificity for this test that was used is 80%. We can further calculate the positive predictive value and the negative predictive value as per the formula presented there. So what was the data we would have gathered from the question? First, the prevalence is 45%, total population is 18,000, and we know that the prevalence is equal to the total of persons who are truly positive plus the total of those persons who would have gotten a result to say the test was negative in terms of false negative. False negative in the context of the reading is that the persons do have the disease, but at this time they would have gotten a test that says negative. We additionally got the results for TP, and that was 3,645. So how do we use these information presented here to make the various calculations and to construct the contingency table? So firstly, and these are 2 additional information that would have been given to you in the question. Sensitivity, 90%, specificity, 80%. All right, these are the formula that you should make yourself be aware of for the purpose of the calculations. A prevalence of 45 and a total population of 18,000 is the first thing that you would want to look at as it relates to this question. What would be that calculation? Total population, 18,000, and the prevalence is 45%. What that is really saying is that 45% of that total, whatever number that you'd have calculated, is equal to the total number who would have had the disease. That number is 8,100. So the prevalence, total number of persons who do have the disease, is true positive plus false negative, and that's 8,100. So in your table, you would have information now to input. Firstly, you would have gotten from the question the total number of true positive. True positive number, as per the table, has indicated to us that the true positive number is 3,645. 3,645. We also calculated the prevalence, which was 45% of the total, and that number, we do know that it is 8,100. And we also know that that is a total of TP plus FN, which at this point we don't know. That will give you the total of 8,100. We also do know the total number of persons who are in the study, and hence we can put that in our 2x2 table. What else can we calculate from this? Based on the information we have here shared, we can calculate FN. FN calculation would have been 8,100 minus 3,645. That is how we would calculate or determine the value of Fn. All right. Okay, so Tp plus Fn would be equal to 18,000 minus 8,100, and that total is 9,900. Therefore, we can further calculate other things, because now we know what the total of Tp plus Fn is, and we also know the total of Tn plus Fp to be 9,900. Using the formula for specificity, we know that specificity is equal to Tn divided by Tn plus Fp. We just calculated the number in terms of the total as it relates to what Tn plus Fp is. And we calculated that to be 9,900. So we can put in our formula. Tn is divided by 9,900 is equal to 80%, or in this case, we would have written it 80 divided by 100. So if we transpose for Tn, we would have had Tn is equal to 0.8 times 9,900, and that total is equal to 7,920. So we can put that in our table also. So we would have calculated firstly the difference between the 18,000 and the 8,100 to give you the total here, 9,900. This total represents Fp plus Tn. This total also we can put into the formula for specificity, which is Tn divided by Tn plus Fp. 9,900 is equal to Tn plus Fp. Hence, in calculating Tn, we got 7,920, and this is now populated on our table. Good? All right, so to complete the table, we would want to write a title for the table. We can also calculate Fp, because we know what the total of Tn plus Fp is, which is 8,100. We also know what Tp is, and so we can do a subtraction to give us Fp. Similarly, we can calculate, that should be, sorry, this should be Tp. Let me just make a quick change. To complete the question, you would need to complete the table. In terms of completing the table, there are some things that must be done. One, a title must be. Secondly, we need to calculate for Fn, which is 8,100 minus 645, you would have gotten 4,455. You can work that for yourself. We also need to calculate FP, which is 9,900. So that is the total of FP plus TN minus TN, which is 7,920. And we'd have gotten 1,900 or 1,980. For the total of TP plus FN, TP plus FP, we also need to calculate that. And the total of FN plus TN. So you can make that correction. It's TN plus FN to give you that total. So if you should look on the table, you'd have seen what I'm speaking to as it relates to the totals. So we have TP plus FP, and that total is 5,625. And then we have FN plus TN, which would give you 12,375. This would have completed your table with the exception that we don't have title displayed. So what would the title be? All right, so this is an example for title. One, we have included in this what the table is showing. Two, we are saying it's the screening results or results of screening. We are screening for scrotal cancer. It's among 18,000 persons, and these persons live in Nashville, and the time in which the screening was done was 2020. So we can use the variables of epidemiology, people, place, and time to help us to formulate our titles. So people, the people were those screened for scrotal cancer, the place, Nashville, and the time is 2020. Anything else we add to that would have just to help us to describe what the table is saying to make sure that someone looking on the table can understand. So this is what the table would finally look like. Table number, your title, and the outcome of the table. Further to that, you were asked to calculate the negative predictive value. So this is just a reminder of all the formula. What is missing from this page would have been prevalence, which is equal to TP plus FN. All right. So the negative predictive value we can calculate, and the table is displayed here. It has the values that we need, TN. It also has TN plus FN. TN plus FN is 12,375, and TN is 7,920. So in putting those in the formula, multiply by 100, you would have gotten 64%. But what does that really mean to someone who would have seen this result? What it really means is that the probability that all persons tested in this time would have been truly negative, and this is really giving you a probability of 64%. So it's a 64% chance that if you're negative, you're really truly negative. A similar explanation is provided for the positive predictive value, where if it is that you are tested and you got a positive test, the likelihood that that test is true is a 64.8% chance. That may be low. We would most prefer it to be in the 80s and above, but for what it is worth, this is what is happening. It therefore means that based on this fact that we have the negative predictive value and the positive predictive value so close that it's the greater chance of persons getting a false negative or a false positive results. Good. So that takes us to the end of this calculation. I hope that it would have been a little bit more clearer, brought some more clarity to what we would have discussed before now. Thank you.